Hello friends. So I was very sad to hear this week about the passing of Lionel Blair. I interviewed Lionel in 2017 on stage as part of my London Varieties season, and I thought people might like to see that, so I dug it out for you. He was exactly as delightful and charming and hilarious and heartfelt as you might expect, and bringing legends like him to my audience in an intimate venue was exactly what the London Varieties project was about. He shared stories about Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin and Danny LaRue and the Beatles and so many more. Before the interview, I showed my audience a video clip of Lionel dancing with Sammy Davis Jr. in a Royal Command performance in 1961, so that was the first thing that we talked about. Enjoy. One of the gentlemen in that clip was, of course, the legendary Sammy Davis Jr. The other gentleman in that clip is our very special guest this evening. Please welcome Mr. Lionel Blair.
Here we are. Hello, good evening. Wonderful to see you. Thank you.
Hello. So tell me about that day.
That day?
Yeah.
Well, what happened was, actually, it started, I was in America, and I went to Las Vegas, and then I thought, well, being in Las Vegas, why don't I go to Hollywood? I've never been. So I took a plane, flew to Hollywood, booked in at the Roosevelt Hotel, and I thought, I've got to phone. So I phoned the most important agent in America, which was MCA, and I said, look, I know you're not allowed to give out artist numbers, but do you handle Roger Moore? And they said, yes, we do. I said, well, don't give me his number, but would you call him and tell him Lionel Blair's in town? I would like to see him. Within 5 minutes, he called me, what the are you doing? I said, I'm staying at the Roosevelt. He said, pack your bags, you're staying with me and Dorothy. That was his first wife. So I stayed with them for 3 weeks. And while I was there, I get a telegram from London saying, come home at once, you're doing the Sammy Davis Jr. show. Well, I was thrilled. And I said to Dorothy, look, that's your bloody hell, up you go. Off you go, love. And I flew back to London, where I met Sammy Davis, and we fell in love. I can't tell you, like brothers. It was a bromance which you could not believe. And he said, will you take me around? I said, I'd like to do a number with you. And it was that number, the hat shop routine. And that's what we did. And we did that as a show, the Sammy Davis Meets the British. And then he was asked to do another Royal Command performance. And he said, I don't want to do what I did before. I said, well, we should do something like the hat shop routine. He said, let's do that. So I said, well, we've got to rehearse it. And Bernard Delfont, who was the producer, flew me to Las Vegas, where Sammy was working, so that I could rehearse with Sammy for the Royal Command. And I rehearsed with Sammy, came back, gave the arrangements to the musicians, and that was it.
It's a beautiful place.
He was the most wonderful, wonderful man you could ever, he was wonderful, just wonderful. And stayed my friend too, we lost him, unfortunately. Go on.
So, how did you get your start?
My start? God. An awful long time ago.
How long?
I'm very old.
Yes.
You know how old I am.
I know how old you are.
I think you all know. But I started, I think, during the war, my parents, when we were being bombed before you were all born, we used to shelter in the underground stations. And my sister and I, God bless her, used to entertain the people that were there.
It's a kind of busking.
Yes, sort of like busking, really. And other stations had heard about it. And they said, "Oh, really?" I said, "We'd love the kids to come and entertain us." So my first tour was the Piccadilly line. That's true, I swear that's true.
Was there one station that was like the station to get?
Manor House.
Manor House. And what did you do?
What did I do? I was a boy actor.
Mike, 'cause
Really,
you
I
did-
did Stratford-on-Avon, and you know, I was an actor. I didn't want to be a dancer,
So how did you
but I
find
could
dance?
because I watched Fred Astaire,
No.
Ratman. He was fantastic. That's the one regret in my life. I never met him. I did meet his daughter, but oh God, and that's what I wanted to do. So and I went. I was a boy dancer in television, and we had it was for a couple of comedians called Jewel and Morris. Does anybody remember Jewel? No. You do? No.
Jimmy Jewel.
Jewel and what? Jimmy Jewel.
Yes. Oh, Jimmy Jewel.
Jewel and Morris. Yes.
I've seen Ben Morris.
And I was a dancer in the. They did a show called Turn It Up, and then there was a break, and they were going to do Return It Up, and the choreographer couldn't do it, and the producer said, "Well, find me another choreographer," and he said, "I think Lionel Blair could do it," and the director said, "Yes, we think so too," and I became a choreographer, and it was going to be the Lionel Blair dance, and all the other dancers who I'd worked with were sitting in the rehearsal room waiting to start rehearsals. And they're all going, "I wonder who the new choreographer's going to be. I wonder who it's going to be." And they're all going, "Oh my God, I don't know who it will be." And God help it, somebody we know. All that. And I said, "Right, kids, let's start." And they went, "It's not you." And I went, "Yes, it is." And Jewel and Morris was so kind, they said, "We'd like to do a routine with you," and they did. And the producer, who was a man called Michael Mills, who directed Some Mothers Do Heaven, and he said, "Well, it's so good, why don't you do a routine with the girls in every show?" So then it became Lionel Blair and his dancers, and that was went on for years.
But you weren't sort of formally trained.
I wasn't trained at all.
Self-taught.
No, I never had lessons.
Fantastic.
Neither did Sammy.
Yeah. Just
He
picked it
really
up
didn't. We could just tap them.
around the right people.
Sammy always said there was one person that helped him and taught him an awful lot, and that was a man called Mickey Rooney.
I met Mickey Rooney once.
Did you?
Mickey, I was backstage. He was doing a show called Sugar Babes.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
At the Savoy.
25 years ago. Savoy,
With
yeah.
Ann Miller.
With Ann Miller, 25 years ago. And a friend of mine had a small part in the show, so I went backstage to say hi to him. Mickey Rooney, this is one of my great brushes with the stars. Literally pushed me out of the way by my kidney. Just said, "Out of the way, asshole!" That's what I mean. So,
And through Sammy, I went over there to do something else with him, and he said, "We're having dinner tonight after, because we're going to Frank's opening." Frank. You're not going to say Frank O, are you? It was him. And he said, "But we're all having dinner first." I went, "Oh, fine." And for dinner, there was Sammy Davis, Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, Joey Lewis, and all these people. And I had dinner with all these people. Prawn cocktail, please. It was and then in the interval, I met Shirley MacLaine, who was lovely. She was fantastic. And I met quite a few people. Anybody want to ask me who?
Yes.
Who, Lionel? Who?
Who?
Who? Danny Danny LaRue. Do you remember Danny LaRue? Yes. Oh my God, he's not like that. Oh, darling, I'm no longer a star, I'm a legend. Oh, there's some stories about him. That when his partner unfortunately passed away, he bought a dog. And it's one of those Chinese dogs, you know, no fur. And he went to a draper shop and said, I want to buy some material and have a coat made for my dog. And the man said, well, how much material do you want? He said, well, the dog's about that big, and that's sort of whack wide. And the man said, well, why don't you bring the dog in and we could measure it? He went, what, and spoil the surprise? And he played. Do you mind if I swear one word? But and he went to Plymouth to do pantomime. And he was walking in with the dog. And they said, I'm awfully sorry, Mr. LaRue, but dogs aren't allowed backstage. And he said, no dog, no dad, now fuck off. He said the F word. It's like Dr. Foster.
Your mother.
Did you see that in the kitchen? Did you?
Yeah.
Oh no.
Who's Dr. Foster?
You don't know Dr. Foster? Oh. It's a television show with Suran Jones.
Okay.
And she's the doctor.
Right.
And her husband has an affair with her best friend.
Right.
And she tries to get him back.
Right.
And she does.
Alright. I'm not clear on what that is. I'll be honest, this is not how I saw the interview.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Now ask me questions. What you wanted was.
No, this is good, don't get me wrong, this is better than mine. No, so you were choreographing and having a dance troupe in the kind of, I guess the kind of tail end of the Variety and the heyday of sort of light entertainment.
Oh yes, and then there were excuse me, that's my age. These nightclubs opened all over the country where you could gamble.
Right.
And myself and 4 of my dancers, we toured.
Oh, okay.
All those, and we went to South Africa with Eartha Kitt.
Oh.
We went to Australia to do the show. So it took us all over the world. It was wonderful.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And what was, I mean, I'm a person that kind of, I've got a bit of a thing for the sort of golden days of variety and entertainment. You know, sometimes I feel a little out of place here. Well, because, you know...
You're new, you're one of the new guys.
I'm not. 20 years ago, maybe. So, you know, I kind of want to ask, I guess, what was it like? You know, what was, when there was a thriving variety live entertainment industry, what was it like?
It was wonderful. It was.
The rooms were big.
It was all right. But I went up to Scotland with Michael Mills to do a review called the 5 past 8 shows. Anybody from Scotland?
Yay!
There you go. Do you remember?
Very young.
Jimmy the Logan family? Although, anyway, I did all those shows in Scotland, and Ricky Fulton, there were loads of wonderful Scottish people, comedians and everything. And I came back, and the first job I got was to do the Crazy Gang show, the choreography, at the Victoria Palace, called These Foolish Kings, which I did. And a director, and then I went to a party, and a director said, I went to see the Crazy Gang show. Did you do all the choreography? I said, yes. He said, come to the office, and I went to the office. He said, I would like you to do the Dickie Henderson Spectacular. And it was a big success. And I stayed 3 years at ATV with Dickie Henderson, Arthur. These are people you don't know. Dickie, Arthur Askey, Harry Seacombe.
Yeah.
All those people. And I did all that. So I didn't do variety tour.
Right.
I did mostly television.
Yeah, yeah.
That's how I became famous for Val Parnell. And working with Bruce at the Palladium and all that, I did all those shows. I didn't tour in variety so much. It was very sad because there were a load of people in variety that they could work 52 weeks in the year. They'd do one act and they could go to theatres all over the country. When they were past it or it was over, they had nowhere to go back to. And that's how Brinsworth House and all these homes happened, because some of the acts didn't have a home. They never saved their money, you know, because they went from place to place. Some of the digs were unbelievable, really awful. And there was a story about the Dallas boy, because there were very famous landlady stories. And my best friend at that time was Alma Cogan, and I just opened a plaque for her the other week, and she worked with a group called the Dallas Boys, and they booked into these digs, and they got a bottle of wine. There were 5 of them, and then we could have a drink when they came back from their show. They suddenly noticed that the wine was going down, and they went, oh, the landlady's at it. So they finished the bottle of wine, and peed in the bottle and filled it up. And every night it was going down. And they were hysterical. Absolutely hysterical. And on the Saturday night before they left, the landlady said, I hope you've enjoyed your stay. They went, oh yes, we have. She said, I hope you don't mind, but you know you had trifle every night after dinner. Put a bit of your sherry in.
All right, so we've had this in a trifle. We've had this.
I love answering questions. I do. It's one of my favourite things.
You're in the right place.
People say, you know, I wish you talk about so and so. If there is a question that anybody writes about, I'm for it.
I've got one person that
yes.
I know that you work with. I mean, you know, people here might have just heard of. Tell me about working with the Beatles.
Oh, they were lovely. You know, they did. Well, I went with Mike and Bernie Winters show.
Yes.
Up north, and I went to school with Bernie. Bernie was the best man at my wedding.
Oh.
And that was 50 years ago. Yes. Anyway, and the Beatles came up and did their show, and we did it all at Elstree. And then when they made their film, they said, we'd like Arnold to be in our film. I just did it. But yes, and they were lovely. I got on. Individually, they were wonderful. When they were together, they stuck together. Even at a party, they didn't mingle. But when they were, I hope my back is to you, I'm sorry. But when they were individual, you know, hello, la 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 la, yeah. Like I'm in Paul's book, which thrills me. McCartney. I did pantomime for 30 years. I did all that. And, played everywhere in pantomime.
Pantomime's hard work, right?
Oh, I mean, I had 4 Cinderellas. You know what I mean? That I've worked. I had the first one. Anyway, the first one was Patsy Kensit, was my Cinderella, then Leslie Ash, Annabelle Croft, and the last Cinderella was Denise Hannah. So they were my Cinderellas, and it was wonderful. Wonderful. I used to do the song sheet with the kids with a little bit of this, and one pantomime I did was with Rod Harley-Lemieux and Lisa Goddard and myself. And I said to Rod, when I do the song sheet with the kids, will you come on with Emu and give the sweets to the kids? And they came on. The kids ran off the stage. They were petrified. They were really petrified. So he couldn't do it. It was funny. At rehearsals, he was like this, you know. And we thought, as soon as that hand, he became real.
Hand?
It became
What do you mean?
real.
Oh my God, wait a minute.
Oh yes. Anybody else?
Yeah, if anyone has any questions, feel free. I have some. If
Go
you
on.
have some. Got notes. Yeah, I mean, actually,
Have I done them
you've done it. I mean,
Did you enjoy Give Us a Clue?
all? Did I enjoy Give Us? I loved Give Us a Clue. Una and I, and then Lisa got a. Oh, Give Us a Clue was wonderful. And funny. Jim Davison was very funny. He had to do Cockney Rebel, well you can imagine. And Kenny Everett, I love his shows. His shows were wonderful. And I've just done a television show, ATV 83, about Larry Grayson. Larry, oh. And I've done a whole thing about Larry.
I think that's when my earliest memory of you is on the Kenny Everett show.
When I was whipped by Claire Rockers.
Yeah.
You lucky.
I was. I remember we did.
It didn't take long.
We did. He did a slave ship when he was chained to him, and I was the cabaret on the slave. And when I finished, he said, "Excuse me, Mr. Blair, can I have your autograph?" Right. And I went, "Yeah, of course, it's not for me, it's for my mum." He was wonderful. Wow. And actually, with Give Us a Clue, our first warm-up man was Michael Barrymore. Oh. And the warm-up man for Kenny Everett was Brian Conley.
Wow. Brian wrote the
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have a question.
Yes.
That piece that we just saw, and you're dancing, and you said you flew in for that.
Yeah.
Where was it? England or America?
I flew to Las Vegas to
Las Vegas,
rehearse.
sorry. And how long did it take you to rehearse to do that piece? Because it's stunning. It was captivating.
Well, I have to tell you, Sammy wasn't the easiest person to teach. And who am I, then, to tell people, So he said, "Listen, babe, I tell you what, I'll do this, and then you do that, and I'll do that." And it wasn't until we did those boom, 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 that we did together, and that grew up and boom, boom, and all that. But otherwise, and we both loved Singing in the Rain. And when Donald O'Connor and Gene Kelly did a certain step, I said, "Do you remember that step?" And that's what we did on the table. And that's from Singing in the Rain.
Yeah, now you mention it. Yeah.
Oh, we copied that,
Also take bits and make new things.
Absolutely.
That's what it is.
So, I love doing that. I did. I've just recently been to India. I don't know if anybody saw it.
Yes.
Did you see that?
Yeah, I loved it.
Too hot. Oh,
Well, in the three-piece suite.
I do like seasons, summer, winter, but not there. Oh. But we gave a show for lots of English people that lived there. They loved it. Amanda Barry and I. Amanda Barry was one of my dancers. They all married quite well. Mrs. Adam Kay, Mrs. Frank Ifield, Mrs. They all. And Amanda married one of my girls, and but it was too hot for me, India. But they made me do a number, and I didn't have any of my stuff with me. I'll do a bit of it now. Can I do a bit of it? No, it's easy. When I point to you, it's something I've stolen from Gene Kelly.
Still from the best.
You say I got. All right?
Yeah.
When I point to you.
I got.
Rhythm.
I got.
Music.
I got.
My friends who could ask for anything more.
I got.
Daisies.
I
got. My friends who could ask for anything more.
Told you there'd be surprises.